Hey there, gardeners. Welcome back to my dining room. I'm Mila Fournier, and I'm here to help you learn how to garden as part of this kind of COVID victory garden project. So, I promised you yesterday when I was out in that sunshine and I was doing some planting of my peas and of my lettuces and such, that I would teach you today how to start seeds inside. So, we're going to do this. The very first thing you need to do when you're going to go plant seeds inside to start them so that they get nice and big before you put them outside is to figure out which ones should we be doing this with. So, the other day I taught you about how to choose varieties, choose something that's easy and that you love, and so whatever lives in that Venn diagram, that's what you're going to be planting. And I suggested these things that we could plant, like peas, all sorts of greens, you know, chard, cabbage, lettuce, kale, spinach, chard again because it's really easy, it's there twice. Root vegetables like beets and radishes and onions, and then that was all for planting now. That means things that could go into the garden really like in the first week of April. So just about now. Yesterday I did some. And things for later. So beans, zucchini, squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers. So these are things I said, these are really easy to grow, but you can't put them out in the garden right now. It's just a little too cold for them. Those things, they're really kind of subtropical species and they're annual species, so they really don't like to be in cold weather. So how do we know which of these we're going to start directly in the garden when it's warmer and which ones do we start right now inside? Well, luckily for us, most seed packets come with lots of really, really good information. So we're gonna come in close to this. So this is a sweet bell pepper called Mountaineer, and it's an extra early pepper. So we're gonna look at the back of this, and there's information along this side, and there's information here. And what I'm gonna do is you're gonna look at the pretty picture while I read. So Mountaineer sweet pepper. This genius sweet pepper of Will Bonsall, selected to thrive in the short seasons of Maine. We love the sheer abundance of delectable heart-shaped peppers, even in cool summers. So I chose this because I live in Ithaca. Ithaca is cold. We live in a beautiful place, and this beautiful place is blessed with gorgeous, gorgeous summers, but the summers are really short. So I wanted a short season pepper. And growing instructions, there's a little box there, it says growing instructions. Transplant only, meaning you're not going to be able to put the seed in the ground once summer hits and expect to actually have ripe peppers by the time your fall hits. So they said transplant only, meaning grow this from seed indoors early to give it a head start and then put a transplant out in the ground. So it says here, here, look at the pretty picture again. Sow indoors 2 seeds per cell, and thin to strongest 1 1/4 inch deep, 8 weeks before last frost. Heat mats will germinate seeds better. After germination, it gives you some temperatures. It wants to be between 70 and 60 degrees, 70 degrees during the day and 60 degrees at night. Move to larger pots with first true leaves. Harden off. We'll get to that later. You don't need to know about that right now. And then, let's see, days of germination, 7 to 10 days at 85 degrees. So if it's really warm, it'll germinate in 7 to 10 days. When to seed, indoors early in spring. So that's 8 weeks before frost. Let me get another pepper over here. No, okay, no, let me get a tomato over here. So this tomato, same kind of thing. Different company, different sets of information. This one says start indoors in a warm, well-lighted area 6 to 8 weeks before planting outdoors. You plant outdoors after the frost is ended. So, see that map? That's the transplant schedule about when you can do it. So what's really important for all of these that we're going to be looking at, it says how many weeks before last frost. This is going to be how you know what your time before last frost is. Right here, you've got the USDA Plant Hardiness Zone map. So depending on where you are in the country, you're going to go to that website. You can put in your zip code and it'll tell you what your zone is. So here in Ithaca, in upstate New York, I'm a zone 5. I kind of wish I was a zone 6, but really I'm a zone 5. So at zone 5, I'm looking at my last frost date being somewhere around May 15th. So, where's my chart? Hold on. So, I made this for you guys. You can see it. So, here's May 15th. May 8th is 1 week before that. May 1st is 2 weeks before that. April 24th is 3 weeks before it. April 17th is 4 weeks before. April 10th is 5 weeks before. April 3rd is 6 weeks before. And March 27th, which was yesterday, is a full 7 weeks before frost. So that's a perfect time to go ahead and plant these things that say 6 to 8 weeks. So this is the perfect window for planting tomatoes indoors. If you do it a little late, it's not that big a deal. It just means that you have 1 less week of growth indoors before you put it out. That's fine. You're still gonna have a nice big plant, even if you have to put it out after having grown indoors for 5 weeks. You're gonna be okay. So let's see other things. Here we go. Here's a melon, the Minnesota midget. So I turned it sideways because that's how it's printed on the back here. And this one says, for earlier crop, start indoors 4 weeks before last average frost. So right now we're at 7 weeks. I can wait 3 weeks before I plant this. And that's actually a really good idea. The reason I'm going to wait to plant this is I know that melons, squash, zucchini, winter squash, all the things that are in the same plant family, they get really huge really quick. If I do this really early, what's going to happen is I'm going to get this enormous plant indoors. It's going to be ungainly. It's going to be unwieldy. It's going to actually want more than I can give it indoors. It's going to want a bigger root zone because it's going to want to grow bigger and bigger. It's going to need a lot more light and a lot more watering and attention. So if you do this too soon, you're going to, I mean, it's doable, but you're going to be kind of overwhelmed. So I'd say follow those instructions and wait a couple more weeks before you put these in. So how do you put these in? How do you plant them? Well, I start with something like this. You've probably seen these at the garden center. I'm using this because it's what I've got. I have this from last year that I cleaned up and it's ready to go again. This one has a lot of really little cells. This is a 72 cell pack. So it's pretty small. These are like 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, not very big at all. So in order to start my peppers, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my seed starting mix, which I've got in this bucket. And I've already wet this down a little bit because when you first get seed starting mix, it's usually really super dry. And one of the nice things about having that really dry mix that you get from a garden center is that it's really light, which means that getting it home is not going to be quite so hard. So basically, I fill these up almost to the top. Really loosely. See? Fill them to the top. And then what I like to do, because I have an extra one of these trays, I put that on top and I kind of squish it down. So now that's been kind of squished down a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my seed packet, open it up. Now, I'm going to show you. Here, because I squished it down, we've got a little extra space in there. Remember, it was all the way at the top and now it's down about 1/2 inch. That's actually a really nice depth. So, open up my seed packet. And I'm going to put, very carefully, 1, 2 seeds per cell, per little section here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'm only going to do that on this first row. There's extra seeds in here, probably because I don't necessarily need to grow a lot of these. I figure 6 really nice prolific pepper plants is enough for my needs. And then what I'll do is I'll get a little more of that soil, that planting mix, and I'll put that very kind of loosely on top, just to cover over those seeds a little bit. And then I'm going to water them in. So what's going to happen though is watering this, you don't want to water it with a hose, you don't want to put it under, even a watering can, water comes out pretty hard and pretty fast, and these seeds are pretty delicate. So I use a spray bottle, and I just kind of do this a little bit. Just a couple of sprays per cell, and that's it. Then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it. So here, what I have is I've got an old, believe it or not, an old bamboo toothbrush. So a while ago, in an effort to stop using any sort of plastics, we switched to buying a lot of bamboo products. So this is an old toothbrush, which makes a really lovely plant marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'm going to write down that this is Mountaineer. Pepper. And I'm going to do that. Here's the thing. Always mark. Always mark. You will never, ever, ever remember what's what. And if you're like me and you're like, well, I want to try this kind of pepper and that kind of pepper and maybe this third one, you're going to end up having 3 sets of peppers that all will look pretty much the same, and you're not going to know which is which until maybe you get actual peppers ripening. But really, you want to know what's what. So go ahead and mark it, and then you're done. You're going to now just wait until these germinate. Remember, it said peppers like warmth, so I'm going to put them in a warm spot in my house, and I'm going to wait about 7 to 10 days, making sure to keep this moist. If I see it dry out on the top, I'll come in and water it some more with the spray bottle. And the reason for that is that once a plant has kind of been told it's time to start growing, by giving it moisture and giving it warmth, you can't stop that process. It's like a runaway train. So once you start the process, it's going to need to be watered and need to be in kind of a consistently warm space for a while until the plant starts to grow. Once the plant gets big, it's fine. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you take a wonderful chance to take these dreary days and turn them into a wonderful day by planting something, because there's no greater hope than planting seeds. So happy gardening.